You go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of How Did We Get Here? I'm your host, Jay Carter, and of course, the man that is always heard and never ever seen, Skeens.
What up? We bike, baby. We bike.
A.K.A. the Wizard of Oz.
That is I.
He is I and I is him.
Exactly.
Man, I forgot to tell you, I was talking to one of my little bros the other day. We was having a good conversation and everything, and he was talking about how sometimes we'll call people for interviews. I was calling just to chop it up with him, but he was like, I thought she was calling me to come on the show, and he was saying like, man, I want to find out who is Skeens, who is that man that's always heard and never seen.
Dr. Claw, man.
So, as my boy Eric Young said, you know, if you don't know, you don't know.
Exactly.
If you know, you know.
Shout out to Pusha T.
So, you know, welcome back, guys. Again, another great episode in the tuck for you guys, and want to send out this is the day. Well, this is 2 days before Thanksgiving. You know. Not quite 2 full days, but happy Thanksgiving to y'all out there, man.
Exactly.
We send y'all as usual, love, peace, and blessings to you and your family. And of course, how did we get here? We got two cousins that are like brothers that are talking any and everything in the process. How did we get here? So we want to jump right into it. Skeens has been busting me upside the head with content episode ideas. His mind, y'all, he's in his quote-unquote office. His mind is flowing like Niagara. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to let you lead off, brother. And, you know, we're going to get into this topic real quick, y'all.
All right. So being in the holiday spirit, right?
Right.
We started talking about the things that you're thankful for.
Indeed.
Being alive, especially now in the age of the Rona.
Yeah.
Still having a job with the unemployment rate being what it is.
Indeed.
Friends and family.
Most definitely. That's my biggest.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, in the midst of that, when we're talking about being thankful for family, how do we deal with dysfunction within our family?
Let's talk about that.
So, when we're looking at the family dynamics, we have these dysfunctions. So we have discourse factions. So just say we got the Bloods and the Crips of families.
We do.
We have Hatfields and McCoy, however you want to look at it. So we have a divide amongst the family, and the divide has been so long that you forget what the divide was.
Right. What we're fighting about. Yeah. What we arguing for.
But only thing you know that I don't like you, you don't like me, right. And no one can speak to the reason why, as well as no one has really took the time to actually figure out a resolution. So, because if we're family, same blood flows through my vein as yours.
Yep.
Circle of life is making sure that we continue that circle.
Right, indeed.
So we're breaking that circle when I don't want to deal with you and you don't want to deal with me, and I don't want to step outside of my ego. I was looking at something where they made a great point. Ego is Xing out God.
Ooh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Because of part of that correction, you have to be able to step outside of yourself and that ego and follow the guidance of God, because God's going to direct you into that path. And if you don't believe in God, whatever your higher power, but I'm a Christian. Right. I'm gonna keep it a book.
Yep.
But we have to find out a way to end those generational curses. Mm-hmm. Because me not liking you, you not liking me, we're blocking each other's blessing.
Indeed.
You may be the person that I need if I need a kidney.
Mm-hmm.
But because I don't want to talk to you for whatever unbeknownst reason, you most likely are not going to want to give it to me. So we have to figure out a way to right our wrongs. But the first step is to look inside yourself and say, what part do I play in this? How am I perpetuating for this notion or this dysfunction? So it's basically a microcosm of our community.
Right. How would you say, though? I like to consider, again, we've talked about it before, that let's step outside of our quote unquote blood family, but the family that we've acquired over the years.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The Dominics, the Kumas, and the like of the world. You know, Junior, Jeezy. It goes on and on and on.
Everybody. Yeah, everybody. So we got extended.
So, what kind of things do you think that you have to do to facilitate? Because as always, guys, what Skeens is talking about is relationships. Again, it's back to relationships. That's what life is all about.
Communication.
Boom. Okay.
We have to be willing to communicate. As well as we can't be ashamed to be wanted to want to communicate.
Right.
To get these off your chest. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't to ask to be vulnerable and talk to your brother, your sister, your spouse about how are you feeling and what's ailing you, because in order to make you feel whole, those things need to happen.
Right.
And you don't know if that other person have the same issue. Just like we think about when you're in school as a kid. The teacher asks a question. You know the answer.
Right.
It's several kids that know the answer. No one wants to raise their hand.
Right.
And give the answer because you don't want to be looked as being different, being awkward, or trying, or having some form of, I guess, survivor's remorse because you're smart enough to know the answer. You don't want to feel looked at different, and you don't want to answer. Or if you have a question, other people have that same question.
Absolutely.
Somebody has to ask it, because we can't get an answer until somebody open their mouth and speak.
Well, I think what you're talking about is oftentimes when we're going through these challenges and stuff, we'll alienate ourselves.
Absolutely.
And you say, for some reason on this journey, we feel like we're the only person that's been through this. It's just like, even as crazy as the age of the Rona has been, Skeens and I have talked about that for our generation and us that are on Earth right now, this is just our season of that thing of those days that we've heard in historical past where they've gone through certain things. It's our season to go through that. You know what I mean? So oftentimes you will feel a level of relief, and you can be embraced. If you have that community, you can be embraced because somebody, man, I was going through the same thing. Exactly. You're not the only person that's going through issues with your spouse. Yep. You're not the only one that's going through issues with your kids. You're not the only one that's going through issues within their family. And I think, and again, we've talked about it, is that folks always say that, again, you and Skeens, y'all so cool because y'all cousins. But we know families, that's the most dysfunction. Yeah. Nobody can love or hate you the way that family can. And in our family, on both sides, we've seen that there's been certain things in dysfunction. But I think, especially right now, you have to say life is too short, and you're never going to be. I was talking to a young man the other day, and his father and him were going through something. And I was chopping it up with him and saying that, do you understand that, again, talking about, if you think about the picture of what God's will is for your life, it's not without your father in it. It's with you guys in that thing together. You know what I'm saying? That's the best version of what that picture looks like.
And the one thing we got to remember, correction requires action.
Absolutely.
So we have to create those actionable steps.
Absolutely.
For correction, because if you, let's say the dysfunction is between the father and the mother, they may not be together.
Right.
There has to be some form of uniformity. There has to be some kind of understanding to make sure that this kid gets everything that he or she needs.
Absolutely.
It's 50-50. Y and X chromosome. That kid got something from both of you.
Right.
So we have to make sure, if it's not just for you, make sure that your kid gets everything that you got and more.
Right.
We have to make sure of that, because sometimes kids may wonder, why do I have this certain trait? Why do I do this certain thing?
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
And it's because they need to find out who they come from.
Yep.
Their family members on each side, but with those dysfunction, you have the father not wanting to see the kids because he don't want to deal with the mother. Yeah, the mother telling the kid how horrible the father
was. Right.
So it creates that discontent for his father he may not have ever met.
Most of the times you'll find, if you look at it, is that the way in sometimes, I ain't gonna say most times, sometimes in these fractured situations, you'll see that the child feels a certain way towards the father or towards the mother if she's not present, but it's been shaped off of
one-sided,
not my actual interaction, but off of what that parent told me. And then, oh, by the way, because the relationship is so fractured between the two, that causes the other person to not even want to be around.
Because you only get one side of the story,
right?
And that's what one thing. It's a show 000.
I started watching it. I did.
The thing that I love about that show, it's, it does have all the violence and action scenes and all that, but the one thing that I really love about that show, it shows everyone's point of view.
It shows the perspective of everything.
So you may hear stories about people, whether it's your brother, your mother, whoever it is, these interactions, or your dad's side of the family don't want to deal with your mother, your mother's side of the family, and so on and so forth, in-laws and whatever, brothers, sisters, cousins, all these different. Everything is based off that person's lens. Mm-hmm. So you can say, I can't, if I'm offended, I can't tell the offended how to be offended or how to feel.
Right.
But outside of that, you still have to heal yourself. You shouldn't burden yourself having to continue to deal with the burden of holding all that trauma and dislike, discontent hostage. You're holding all that in, which in turn it is killing you from the end.
Weighs you down, man. Yeah. Literally.
So you owe it to yourself to relieve it.
Right.
But you also owe it to the other person to let them know that you've wronged me, or to let them know if you feel that they've wronged you, let them know. Because that may not be that person's intent.
Well, I always used to talk Skeens in the workplace. People would come, hey, this and this, that person, this and this, that person, this and that. Well, have you talked to him? Well, no.
Yeah.
Okay. That's step one. You know what I'm saying? That's the step one. And when the offense, a part of our maturity, and again, wanting to build these healthy relationships and wanting to do the work, if I'm offended, I have to be able to come to you and say, yo, you offended me. And it don't mean, because a lot of people are like, I'm real, I went off on somebody. It's not about that. There's a way that you can convey that you were offended and it still be in a healthy way, which is what we're trying to do. Number two, as the person that has offended, one of the key things, and sometimes it's a defense mechanism in us that we do. Well, I apologize if I offended you. No, you offended me. So take that if out of it. I apologize for offending you. And when that person is coming and sharing with you how they feel, my mentor always says, never justify, just listen. Because often, again, our defense mechanism is to say, oh, well, see,
because you feel attacked. And as you say, people being real, the realest thing that you can do is let someone know who you really are.
Absolutely.
And part of knowing who you really are is unmasking those garments. That guard.
Absolutely.
Well, said, I may not know how you feel, that what I said was offensive to you, or how I treated you. Absolutely. You came in the house, you bumped me a certain way.
Right.
I may not have realized that it was a thing.
Right.
I may not have realized I bumped you.
Right.
If I got a coat, got to go old school first down jacket, I can't feel nothing.
Right.
But that's like I said, the 000 show. it shows everyone's perspective. It shows everyone's truth.
Right.
That way you get to see, okay, this is my perspective. This is how I saw it, but also shows how the other person saw it.
That's it.
But then, because as we talk about, when it comes to truth, it's your truth, that person's truth, and then the actual truth.
Absolutely.
So in that shows, it also shows the perspective of the person that's viewing the interaction between both sides.
There you go. Absolutely.
So you get the, I guess, the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. The Holy Trinity.
That's it.
Perspective.
Yeah, and you have to, if you want to be a person that's a great communicator, a part of great communication is just not how you elocute yourself, but also how you listen. You know what I'm saying? So as a great listener, I have to build this thing in there where I love to hear perspective. And that's one thing my pop always gave me.
You have to have a willingness.
It's whether I necessarily agree with something, he would always talk to me about trying to see that person's perspective, their POV, and how they think. Because even when I don't necessarily agree and I learn how you think, then I'm better. Yeah. Because that's something else that I add to my arsenal when I can go, again, how we talking about, oh man, I knew somebody that was going through that felt like that or was going through the same kind of situation.
Jay-Z line, even the broken clock is right two times a day.
Even the garbage can get a steak. But I think it's important, Skeens, for us to, as we're talking about, again, these relationships and building the community, again, we've been harping on y'all is that there's a lot of internal work that we have to do within ourselves. And then once we do that internal work within ourselves, we got to carry that out to our family. And we unfortunately see so many families that are fractured at a myriad of levels and a myriad of different points of interaction and relationships. Again, like we said, whether it's children, it's mothers and fathers, it's uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews, all of this stuff. And we got these fractured families that we're parading around. And while we're portraying, like we talk about on social media, that it's all good and it's not.
So the thing we have to do is start trying to pinpoint where does it come from?
Right.
Is it one person that's perpetuating these things both ways?
I think a lot of it, Skeens, is that we're, like you say, we hold on to so much stuff.
And like I said, they're part of that, process of elimination.
Right.
Okay. Let's start with the kids. Why y'all don't deal with? Okay, it ain't them. Mm-hmm. Is it the parents? It's not the parents. Yeah. Is it the elder? Okay, hold on. It's you.
Right.
Why is that? So we're eliminating the levels of to figure out who is it? Oh, it's you that has the issue. Why? Mm-hmm. If we got to have a round table discussion to try to figure out how to fix you, or what do we need collectively to help you alleviate that pain or whatever that you're feeling? Because right now, the thing that what 2020 has shown us, today is not promised. Not like I would say tomorrow is not promised. Today is not promised.
Right. Tonight's not promised.
So, in order to build for tomorrow, we got to fix ourselves today. Mm-hmm. Because we can't build for tomorrow as people. I want to build a legacy. I want to find my queen, my king, and build power. Well, you can't. The powers can be turned off today. You get your shut off notice at any moment. The way 2020 has been. Yeah. But while you're here, we got to make the best of it. We got to, all that petty back and forth about nonsense. Let that stuff go. Because when you go to a funeral, a lot of times, the people that act the worst at the funeral are the people that did the worst by that person that's died, because they never got a chance to talk to that person or say, I'm sorry.
Right.
Now you got to deal with that pain, that burden for the rest of your days, and you don't know who else is affected by your brokenness. Right. Because of that pain, you may not want to be the parent that you're supposed to be to your kids. You don't want to talk to your kids. You don't want to eat. You don't want to hang around nobody. I don't want to be around my spouse anymore and all that. So other people are affected because you never took the time to do the right thing, not just by that person, but to do the right thing by yourself, of cleansing yourself of all that nonsense, because it's the snowball effect. something small that can be cured today snowballs and it builds up, and now the slightest thing sets you off.
Avalanche.
I want a divorce. What it came from? Oh, right. You realize the cause was because that person never laid the toilet down. Right, but if you said something then,
right,
you could have killed that. Now you bringing up you looking for a reason to be offended. As part of the cancel culture, we're at a point of people looking for a reason to be offended. Mm-hmm. I'm broken, and I want everybody else to be broken.
Yep.
And I want to judge everybody else by an unrealistic standpoint that I cannot live up to.
Some people, even in this day and age, depending on how they're actually moving with it, they'll try to monetize their trauma.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Bro, as they talk, rap music, it perpetuates trauma.
That's what it is.
It sells and advertises trauma.
Yes.
That's the new hustle.
Right. And I think, too, I was sitting here, and the quote doesn't directly connect, but it does have a connection. Is I remember there was Jazzy Jeff was talking about with creative people and just anybody that the goal, and he was talking about as a creative person, that he wasn't necessarily trying to get paid every time for his art, because when he was his creative self, he was at his best. And the goal is to die empty.
That's cool.
Die empty of every thought, every dream, every aspiration that you have. The goal is to say that I tried to attain all of it.
Yeah.
So in our relationships, I look at it, Skeens, is that I want to die empty of harboring any ill will towards anybody. I want to be, when I go, I don't want to say that there was somebody that I didn't get something right with, or that if I knew that I offended somebody, that I didn't go and get it right with them.
Well, you also got to think, we talk about doing the work.
Yeah.
Trauma leads to triumph if you're willing to put in the work.
That's it. Absolutely.
There's a pot of gold on the other side of that rainbow as long as you're willing to follow the path. And it's not an overnight process. It's not a 0 to 60 real quick, like Drake say. Mm-hmm. It's gradual, intentional, micro steps.
Ding, ding, intentional.
One step at a time.
Intentional, y'all. Don't forget that.
One foot in front of the next.
Absolutely.
I can't crawl like a baby and think I'm gonna outrun Carl Lewis tomorrow.
No.
You have to build up to it, but you have to first take that first step,
and it has to be intentional. It doesn't just happen, guys. It doesn't just happen that these relationships are gonna. And I talk to Trey about it all the time because y'all, he's 7 years old, but this dude already hates whether it's me and Skeens, it's his mom, it's his grandpa. He already feels like he knows stuff. He don't like to get too much instruction. You know how I got. So I told him as a man and on this journey in life that you have to love correction and instructions. So you can't be so high on yourself that you feel like there's nothing in me that I got to make right, or every move I make, nobody should be offended by me. Everybody should like me. And I mean, we have stories in our family of people living in the same town, in the same places,
and don't see each other, won't speak to each other,
and ignoring each other because we haven't sat down and, like Skeens said, had the conversation. And sometimes those conversation, guys, there will be some tears, there may be some yelling and things, but in the end goal, as he talks about, through those tough times, there comes triumph at the end of it. And I know there's so many of us right now. Again, we talked about it when the Rona first started, is that this time was going to show us who we really were.
A lot of uncomfortable conversations, but we have to get uncomfortable.
So I know we're going into Thanksgiving, and some of y'all might be around your family or what have you, but it's no time like the present to say, hey, man, you know what? I've been wanting to talk to you about something. And sit down and let's do that. Again, we don't know what's going to happen. We really don't. Of course, we got faith in God. We're going to practice our prayer life and our positive affirmations and our faith.
Yep.
But even in that, the work that we have to do, let's do it now.
Yep. You want to be thankful, as like you talk about during the holidays, whether during Thanksgiving. For every member of your family, every person that you're around, at least say one thing about them that you're thankful for.
Absolutely. Each person.
But also be thankful for the opportunity to make it right.
There you go.
At this moment.
Boom. Yes, sir. That's real.
I appreciate you. I love you. But let's make this right now.
Today.
Let's make it right.
Yep.
Continue, build, elevate, and pass it along. We have to, but you know, people talk about the Gucci and Jeezy verses.
Verses, yep.
And it was big for the streets because it actually showed people it was what people wish Pac and Big would have done before they passed. As we talk about, today can be that day. Your lights go out today.
Today, yep.
25, 26, whatever. I've got the ages around
Yep.
around that age. They never had an opportunity
Yep.
to sit down and make it right.
Yep.
As well as I blame others around them just as much. Any big bro, OG, anyone that was in those circles that knew both sides that did not do their part
Yep.
of trying to get those brothers in the same room to just shut up and listen.
That's it.
To the other person's point of view, what they had to say, what you feel that how you was wrong, and then after that, speak your point. It could be fixed. So many unnecessary situations could be fixed with one conversation.
One conversation.
Now they may not have been the best of friends after, because before all that they was tight.
Right. Yep.
They may not have became best friends after that. As long as you can coexist. If they was able to coexist, they both would still be alive today, for the most part, I believe.
Right. Anything could have happened.
Anything could have happened, but good chance that their lives would not have went the way it did. But Jeezy and Gucci, from the street perspective, is that peace treaty, or perceived, however you want it. It was a show of, we have grown. Let's put it behind us. We don't have to be best friends, but but we should be able to respect each other, live our life. Because you think about, it's like talking about family. How many people that couldn't mess with each other because you was either on this side of the fence or the other side, Bloods or Crips. Because I rock with this person, I can't mess with you. Well, you my brother. Oh, you like Gucci? I can't mess with you. I don't want to hang around y'all because of this. Nothing. So that two people divided thousands of people because of two.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Two people. Think about, and you think about the power that those people have. Now, you may not have that same power on at your level, but you have power.
Yeah, you're taking me to, again, y'all always know I talk about my late pastor, Nathaniel Holcomb. And we were at a men's conference that year. I can't remember the exact wording that he was talking about, but the sentiment was that every man has a level of influence. Yours might be one or two, his could be 5 or 6, and he was talking about him, as long as he had been a pastor, that his level of influence was literally thousands, right? So think about your level of influence, number one. Number two, talking about him. And when he passed, and I was sitting here one day talking to my mom, and I was crying. We both of the phone crying. What I was saying is that what I was thankful for is that by the obedience of one man, it has impacted so many people that I'm connected to.
And your level of influence, even if you influence one person, has just as much impact as that person that may influence 1,000.
Exactly, and it's nothing that's looked, and when we talk about in the kingdom, there's nothing that's looked at little or light. It's all part of the sacrifice and all a part of what we need, and what Skeens and I are harping on, as we did even in the last episode, is we gotta gain this level of you unity in our community. And we have to, again, when we talk about, be intentional, but find value. You're valuable to me. This relationship being successful is valuable to me. I gave the example of Skeens and I, how we look at each other is that he would never feel like he arrived in life if he arrives and he look and I'm not there.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to feel that I have arrived in my life. I'm doing my thing with my family. If I don't look right there and Skeens isn't there, I haven't achieved the goal.
Or if anything, I shouldn't have to look. You better be there. And
I mean,
that's the way we got to look at each other.
Absolutely.
You better be there.
You better be there. And I'm better if you're there.
Absolutely.
Again, we have a thing between us where, again, we always say, bro, you already know if I come up on a lick that's just crazy, I'm going to call you and say, hey, leave work right now. And I ain't going to ask no questions.
Absolutely.
Because that's my man. So we have to be the same way in the community, guys. We just want to encourage you guys. I know there's, and we're not oversimplifying this, guys. We know that there have been situations that have happened that are truly hurtful situations. But what we're saying is through communication, through understanding what God's purpose for us in our lives, that we can overcome these things. We can overcome these generational curses now and start healing now. But no time is better than the present.
Yep.
To have that, and even if we're talking about if you're with that family member for Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever it is, if not, make the phone call.
Yep. And if they've hurt you, you got to hold them accountable, but
Absolutely.
also hold yourself accountable by saying that I'm going to do the work.
That's it. We got to love to do the work, man. So all that said, man, tell us what you guys think. You can send us some comments and things of that nature to let us know how you have overcome some difficult things in relationships.
What is the work that you've done?
What's the work that you've done?
Because the work you've done, as we talk about, could help someone else.
Absolutely. And real quick, I was just thinking, there's a couple that I know, and one of their things, guys, that they did during the times when they're in a difficult spot where they're going through it because they both can shoot some hateful, mean things. One thing that they developed is they basically have a list that is called the When I'm Mad at You list. And it's a list of all these things that they appreciate about each other. And they talk about those things when they're in those heightened situations.
That's powerful.
Say, hey, man, this is, you know what? All right, let me come down. This is actually what I appreciate about. This is what I love about you. So that's a tidbit, guys. Again, we appreciate the support. It's another episode of How Did We Get Here? I'm your man, Jay Carter, and my man, Skeens.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll holler at y'all next time.